Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Sorry it's been so long since I put out a video. I've just been cutting up all these logs, making a lot of progress here. I've been saving all the good quality wood and putting it over to the left of the Connex. And any of the wood that's been rotted because it's been too down low in the mud, I've been burning it in the burn barrel. And I've just been doing other chores around my property, kind of getting things tidied up. And I've got a pretty interesting project that I'm going to showcase later in this video. So make sure you stay towards the end to watch that. I also got tired of chainsawing logs on the ground, you know, having to worry about hitting the chainsaw blade on the ground and dulling the teeth. So I fabricated this bench out of large logs and I notched them, so now I can balance logs over these two stumps. Sure makes it a whole lot easier doing it that way. So if you're new to the channel, or if you missed my last video, the reason why I'm cutting up this log pile is because I'm going to be building a solar panel array, and it's going to be installed right here facing south. And my plan is to have this whole log pile cleared out by the time my dad gets back up here from Oregon. And speaking of my dad, I know you all are probably wondering, everyone in the comments is always asking about him, but he's been recovering very nicely, and we have a new planned date for when he's going to be driving back up here. And that new date is at the end of this month. And he's not going to be driving up alone. He's got an old college buddy of his that agreed to make the trip up with him. So they should both be arriving here in a couple weeks. And like I said, my goal is to get this entire log pile completely cleared out by the time they get here. For the last 2 weeks, it's been pretty rainy, but finally the sun is out. It's nice and warm out here. It's around 55 degrees. Perfect working weather. So I'm going to just start going through all these logs, trying to get them processed as fast as I can. My goal is to do 10 to 15 logs per day. It's Saturday right now, so I probably will do a little bit more than 15 logs because I have the whole day. I'm not working today. So let's see how much we can get done. Last cut, ran out of gas. I just mixed up some new chainsaw fuel. I had a little bit of 2-stroke oil left over to make this mixture. And I got my gas can labeled now, chainsaw, so I don't accidentally forget which is which. And we can check the bar oil. an example of a log that's kind of beat up and the bark has been stripped off of it. So something like this I would just burn in the burn barrel over there. All right, I got a full cart of firewood here. I'm gonna take it over to the Connex, start stacking it up. So I'm just gonna keep working my way through this log pile, see how far I can get today. I've had a reoccurring issue with my well. Right after it turns on for the first time, after sitting for a while, the water gets a little bit cloudy, like there's silt mixed into the water. And I believe it's because the well pump is positioned too close to the bottom of the well. Yeah, the water has this kind of brownish hue to it. Might be hard to see on camera. So I usually have to let the water run for a couple minutes and then it eventually clears up. All right, this water's starting to look really clear. You can tell because it has like these really bright colored highlights. That normally doesn't happen when the water is a little bit cloudy. Oh yeah, water is much clearer now. Got some measuring equipment out. My dad and I have been video calling every couple days, going over the plans for the cabin that's going to be built here right behind me. And we have revised the cabin exterior dimensions up to 32 feet by 24 feet. And I've already done some rough plan layouts. You can see there's already some stakes out here on the ground. And I did that just to make sure a 30-foot cabin could in fact fit in this space here. We have the existing electrical and internet conduit that we put in last year. If you want, you can watch that video up here in this corner. So right now, while I take a break from chainsawing, I'm gonna lay out the final corners for the 32 by 24 foot cabin that we're gonna build. The stake for this front right corner is stationary. It's already close enough to the conduit line. So I'm gonna be measuring the distances from this corner over towards the connex and then back towards that log pile. All right, so that's the first dimension across the front of the building. Now I'm gonna measure 24 feet back towards the log pile. So that dimension of 24 feet is already measured correctly. I did that about a week ago when I did a rough layout, but it looks like it's spot on. So now that we have 3 points marked on our layout, the next thing to do is square them up. So we can use the Pythagorean theorem, 32 times 32 plus 24 times 24. Take the square root of that, it's 40 feet. We're spot on, right at 40 feet. I'm gonna come by later with some wood stakes and mark every location for every pier. And then we're gonna have to figure out what we're gonna use to actually dig all these holes out. I'm not sure that my tractor can do it because we need to dig over 6 feet down for the footers. And I'm not sure my tractor has that far of reach with the backhoe. Likely gonna have to rent a mini excavator. We'll see. Now I'm over here where the utility building is going to be constructed. As you can see, there's also stakes already laid out here. My dad did that last year when we first got here and we first put the well in. But these dimensions are still outdated. These are back when the utility shed was gonna be like 10 feet by 8 feet or 6 feet, like pretty small dimensions. But similar to the cabin, we've increased the size. We've increased it up to 16 by 12. All the dimensions that we're picking are for a reason. If you make your building dimensions a multiple of 4 or 8 feet, then all the OSB sheathing goes on really well. All the siding goes on really well because OSB sheets are 4 by 8 feet. So they just there's no overlap, there's no waste, everything just goes on perfectly. You don't even have to cut the sheets. So we've basically grown the utility shed by a little over 2 feet in both dimensions. And now I'm going to update the layout on the ground here so that it reflects the new dimensions of the building. Once again, we can use the Pythagorean theorem, 16 times 16 plus 12 times 12, square root. That's 20 feet. I just have to make a slight adjustment. Pretty good. So this is 20 feet. Yep. That's also 20 feet. All right, this layout is complete. All right, I think that's enough chainsawing for one day. I think I'm gonna get some food, take a shower. It is just after 7 p.m. After I get done with my shower, it'll be time to show you guys what I've been working on inside on the computer. Welcome to my trailer studio. This is usually where I sit when I work my remote job during the day. But right now I'm going to show you guys what I've been working on the last couple weeks. This is Onshape. It is a 3D modeling software, and I've been using it to create the cabin and the solar panel array that we're going to be building this year. For the most part, I've completed the solar panel array design, but I'm still working my way through modeling the cabin. And eventually I do want to model the utility building as well. My dad has actually been working on those utility building plans, just updating 2D schematics of the building, but I still want to eventually model the utility building in this software as well, so that we have all three structures modeled in this CAD software. So let's start by opening up this solar panel array design. And as you can see, we have a fully modeled solar panel array. We've got an array of 9 panels across the top, 9 panels across the bottom, for a total of 18 panels. The plan is to actually construct 2 of these, one facing southwest and the other one facing directly south. And we can basically rotate this around to see a full 3D model designed. As you can see, the mount for these solar panel arrays are going to be made from piers. We have a total of 10 piers. These are going to go 4 feet down into the ground and then have small little footers. And we can zoom in here, closer look at the actual wood frame construction. Each one of these A-frames is completely identical. So we have basically 2x6 construction and 4x6 posts. This post that goes diagonally to the other pier is a 4x4 post, and then they have little fence post connectors at the top of each pier. And what's cool about this tool is it can actually model movement of parts. So I've modeled this entire panel array to be able to swivel. I can click on the panel and kind of move it. And I've actually programmed in here the full range of motion of the solar panel array that it will actually have when it's built. And the piece of hardware that allows this whole panel array to tilt is, if I zoom in here, you can see there's a hole through the 2x6 frame into the 4x6 post. And we'll be putting large carriage bolts through this entire assembly so that the whole array assembly can pivot on those points. In addition to this 2x6 wood framing, we're also going to be using super strut that goes across the wood frames and kind of ties everything together. And then once the panels go on and are mounted to the super strut, it will square everything up and make sure everything moves as a unit. The only additional work that has to be done on this design is after some review with my dad, we realized that the entire array could actually skew sideways in the wind. So I'm going to be adding some additional 2x4 bracing that goes diagonally across from these two, from the posts on the end. And these panels are actually modeled exactly to the specifications of the panels that I purchased last year, down to the millimeter. That's what's great about this CAD software, is it's exact and it's parametric. So it's all based on parameters that you put into the software, and you can model things exactly to their real life dimensions. All right, let's move on. Let's go back to the home page here and let's open up the cabin design. Not completely finished with this, but I've made it to the second floor. As you can see, I've modeled the ceiling joists for the loft area. With Onshape, you can actually roll back your design all the way to the beginning of when you were designing it. So I can scroll back and then the cabin's gone, but then we can scroll through here and see how I constructed each part of the cabin. So we start with a grid of piers. We got 4 piers by 3 piers. And these are 6 feet deep with a 2 foot by 2 foot footer for each pier. Each pier also has these fence post connectors to keep the girders off of the cement piers. We have 2 by 12 girders here that stretch the short distance between the piers. And then we have floor joists. Notice that we beefed up this center joist across the length of the building because this cabin is going to be using a ridge beam, not a ridge board. So we need the ends of the building to be fully supported down through the foundation. So these are beefed up and they will transfer the load through the foundation into the piers and then into the footers. All right, next up is the subfloor. So we just scroll down, there we go. And then next we have all of the exterior wall bottom plates for the walls. And then we have all the exterior wall studs. Again, on the end of the building here, you can notice that we've quadrupled up the 2x6 construction to form a large, strong post on either end of the building. And next, we have the wall top plates. And then we start with the interior walls. And now we're getting to the point where we're actually working on the floor plan. We have a bedroom right here. We have a bedroom right here. We have a very short hallway, and then we have the main living area on the right side of the building. As you will see soon, we will have a staircase right about here that will lead up to the loft above the bedrooms. So I haven't fully modeled out all the studs on the interior walls, but I've modeled the end studs. So now you're just starting to see kind of the 3-dimensional design. Then we have the wall cap plates that basically the tops of the walls actually get doubled up, so the cap plates overlap and stagger the wall plates. And that kind of ties multiple walls together that are at 90-degree angles. We have this cap plate that goes over the top of the other wall top plate. So it allows it to kind of interlock and allows the walls to kind of support each other. So then I modeled in kind of a queen bed as just kind of a way to gauge the actual size of these rooms. So this is an actual queen bed dimensions. It's 60 inches by 80 inches, and then it's a foot tall. So that was kind of just something I threw in there just to get an idea of how much space will be in these rooms. So just a little kind of imagination here. We could have like a little nightstand next to the bed. We could have a desk over here. We could have a dresser. So there's plenty of space in these bedrooms. They're not small. They used to be small. Before we increased the size of this building, these bedrooms were very small. They were like 7 foot by 10 foot. It was going to be very cramped, unlikely to be able to fit a queen bed. But now there's plenty of room for a queen bed. Queen bed, a desk, whatever you want to have in there. And finally, we're going to throw on the ceiling joists. So these are the ceiling joists, but they're also the floor joists of the loft. And there we go. So this is as far as I've gotten so far. I modeled the stairs. So we have a couple steps up to a landing area, and then we have the remaining stairs that will go all the way up to the loft. And I'm still discussing with my dad what roof pitch we should pick. The initial idea was just to go with the 12-12 pitch. That's a 45-degree angle. But I'm kind of scared doing a very steep roof after experiencing the outhouse out there and being unable to stand on the roof to install shingles. I feel like maybe a 9-12 roof would be a little bit easier to build and construct. However, once you get into a 9-12 roof, the maximum ceiling height in the loft area is going to be cut down, and because the ceiling will be lower, that also brings in the walls. So we might end up still having to go with 12-12 pitch for the roof. It just means the construction process is going to be a little bit more difficult. But besides that, that's kind of the quick tour that I have of the cabin design. So I hope you all enjoyed my little demonstration here. I'm planning on continuing these designs and, like I said, eventually modeling out the utility building as well. And some of you may be wondering why I even am doing this. Why am I modeling these out in 3D instead of just doing 2D sketches or, something else? And the main reason is being able to visualize these buildings in 3D allows us to actually see how things look, maybe iterate on their designs, but it's also great to actually see things fit together. When you're working on a 2D sketch, sometimes it's a little bit confusing. You don't know, things might be intersecting that you didn't even know were intersecting. Another reason for modeling is we can model down to the individual board. We know exactly how much wood we're going to need to purchase. How many OSB sheets do we need? How many 2x4s do we need? How many 2x6s do we need? How many 2x8s do we need? How many 2x10s? How many 2x12s? Like, we can just go through the whole model and tally up a bill of materials, and we can just run out to the store, run out to the local lumber yard, and just pick up a whole bunch of lumber. So thanks everyone for watching this video. And again, sorry for the delay. Got a little distracted doing all this modeling stuff. And also working on that large log pile outside. But probably the next time that I'll see you guys is when my dad arrives. I'm pretty excited here. It's the 16th. So it's going to be about another little over 2 weeks before he gets here. I got a short list of stuff to get done before my dad gets here. And looking forward to getting started on these buildings. Get started on this construction work. I've been in contact with a concrete subcontractor, still looking to subcontract out the concrete work, but we need to finalize these design plans first and then figure out the logistics of getting the area excavated. Likely going to have to rent a mini excavator to get that work done because, like I said earlier in the video, I'm not quite sure if my tractor is up to the task of digging out this compacted pit run material. But anyway, I'm rambling now. So again, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next month.